The city of New Orleans is known for its enriched culture and the preservation of its cemeteries. In particular, St. Louis Cemetery No. 2, also known as the City of the Dead, has remained a significant artifact of New Orleans. There are a lot of famous people buried here.
Dominique Yu was a pirate, a privateer, and a soldier. In 1775, Yu joined the army of the Revolutionary France as an artillerist and later served in the French Republic's Artillery Corps. A few years after the yellow fever plague took many French soldiers' lives, Dominique went to New Orleans where he became captain on the French corsair Le Pandore. He became a very successful smuggler while sailing his ship, and because he and his brothers were privateers, they constantly preyed on Spanish ships in the Gulf of Mexico, damaging the Spanish commerce in the Gulf.
The Americans at this time attempted to capture Yu many times, but all attempts failed because he managed to escape the captures. On January 18, 1850, Yu and his men fought in the Battle of New Orleans, and because he showed great skill, all charges were dropped against him, and he settled quietly in New Orleans, where he became a politician and a firm supporter of General Andrew Jackson. He died in New Orleans in 1830 and is buried here in the historic St. Louis Cemetery No. 2.
Jordan Noble was an enslaved African American from Georgia, born in October of the 1800s and later moved to Georgia with his slave master. At just the age of 14, he was recruited by the U.S. military to play in the Battle of New Orleans as a drummer.
After defeating his opponent in the Battle of New Orleans, Noble went on to serve in 3 more battles. 2 other battles that he is well known for participating in is the Mexican-American War and the Everglades of Florida. He gained his freedom after winning the Florida Seminole Wars.
Some of the organizations that Noble organized were the Free Men of Color for the Confederacy and the Native Guards for the Union. In honor of his legacy, there is a parade to honor the drummer.
In reflection of his patriotism, Jordan Noble's dome is decorated with a redwood head and a shield and star.
Jordan Noble, Old Jordan, also known as Drummer Boy, born in 1800 to 1890, veteran of 4 American wars. On the memorable plains of Chalmette, the rattle of his drum was heard amidst the din of battle, said by Daily Picayune.
Ernie Cato was one of the most famous African-American blues and pop singers of the New Orleans area. We remember him for his song Mother-in-Law, which was #1 on the pop and R&B charts. After Me, There Will Be No Other. Emperor of the Universe and Friends of New Orleans Cemeteries, Grand Marshal Ernie Cato was buried in this tomb on July 13, 2001. Along with the Star Spangled Banner, his signature R&B classic, Mother-in-Law, will be one of the only 2 songs to ultimately be remembered.
Alexander Milne was born in 1742 in Scotland. The Scottish government wanted him to conform his ways and cut his red hair and dye it a powdery white, but he refused and decided to immigrate to America. In 1790, he came to New Orleans.
He became rich after the fire of 1788 because New Orleans was still in the process of rebuilding. He died at the age of 94.
His tombstone is unique because not many people have their will inscribed on their tomb, but Alexander Milne did. He ordered most of his wealth to go to the Milne Asylum for destitute orphan boys and girls.
Sacred to the memory of Alexander Milne, Sr., a native of the town of Fochbars in Scotland who arrived in this city prior to the year of 1790 and departed this life on the 20th of October 1838, 94 years. He pursued the occupation of a hardware merchant and by great industry, prudence, and economy accumulated a very large fortune which he devoted to the support and education of the orphans, as appears by the following. An act to incorporate an asylum for destitute orphan boys under the name and style of the Milne Asylum for Destitute Orphan Boys.
Constructed in 1823, St. Louis Cemetery No. 2 was built to distance the victims that suffered from the yellow fever epidemic. During that time, it was a common misbelief that the yellow fever was an airborne illness. Worried that the dead might release deadly air fumes, the people gave birth to this cemetery in hope of containing this disease.
It's called yellow fever because the liver shuts down and it leaves the skin yellow. Yellow fever is a disease carried by mosquitoes that is known to attack the organs and liver system of the body. Its hosts are primates and mosquitoes, and is originated from South America and also Africa. In 1817 and 1905, in New Orleans and the surrounding areas, yellow fever epidemic hit the state. It killed over 40,000 people. In 1853 was one of its most biggest years. It killed so many people in New Orleans and caused so much turmoil for the city. And in the cemeteries, there are a lot of death dates that have 1853.
Daniel Barker, born January 13, 1909, into a family of musicians, of which he soon followed. The first 6 years he spent with his father's family in a 2-story apartment building on Charter Street. He got his first gig playing the banjo as a sub in the Kid Rena's band. He became Banjo King of New Orleans.
Daniel Barker accomplished many things throughout his 80-year career. He appeared in over 1,000 recordings and published 2 books, one a collection of jazz reminiscence titled Bourbon Street Black in 1973, and the other his autobiography titled Life in Jazz in 1986.
In 1993, Danny Barker was honored in the Hall of Fame as a jazz musician. In 1994, right before he died, he was honored as Zulu King, and he died 1994 of cancer. Danny Barker, January 13, 1909 through March 13, 1994. Guitar, banjo, composer, teacher, jazz historian, storyteller, and author.
Mother Henrietta DeLille founded the Sisters of the Holy Family.
Henrietta DeLille was born in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1813 to Jean Baptiste DeLille and Marie Joseph Diaz. Because her father was French and Italian and her mother a Creole of color, Henrietta DeLille looked at herself as a free person of color, and went against everything her mother taught her.
As a teen, she wanted to teach her religion as a Catholic to non-whites and slaves. Her mission was to care to the ignorant and the impoverished. As she got older, she bought a house with loans in her inheritance to teach the religion to the non-whites and slaves. These are all Sisters of the Holy Family who was buried in this tomb.
Mother Henrietta DeLille died November 16, 1862, and left behind 12 members of the Holy Family. She leaves behind her legacy with these members.
Marie Laveau II was the illegitimate daughter of a white man named Glapion and her voodoo queen mother, Marie Laveau. As she was the youngest of 15 siblings, in her early years she was a hairdresser, and also she was a look-alike for her mom because her mom, Marie Laveau, wanted to be forever young.
Marie Laveau had a great influence on the citizens of New Orleans. She brought together all sorts of races with her public seances, but it was said that many people didn't like her as much as they liked her mother because she made voodoo scary compared to her mother, who made it seem more friendly and inviting.
Marie Laveau, unlike her mother, liked elaborate public displays. For St. John's holiday, thousands of people would come to Lake Pontchartrain and watch her do voodoo acts. She also would have young women come to her grave and place different shrines if they were looking for a husband.
It is said that Marie Laveau died from drowning of the Lake Pontchartrain, and it's also said that if a snake is by her grave, then it's representing her spirit. People come to Marie Laveau's grave to leave voodoo rituals like pieces of shells and coins, and also they leave X's on her grave.
We're at St. Louis Cemetery number 2. This is a museum of lives past. And all around us there's thousands of lives that used to be. And each and every one of these lives have a significant role in our lives today, either directly or indirectly. Over here we have Paul Capdeville, which was born in 1842 to a French immigrant father, and a native of New Orleans love for politics through his father, who was a successful merchant in commissioning. His mother, a native to New Orleans, was very familiar with the surroundings and was able to supply nourishment to their political needs.
Paul graduated from Jesuit College in New Orleans in 1861. Following the role of most politicians, Paul joined to serve his state.
After the end of the war, Paul attended Louisiana State University to pursue law and later graduated in 1863. Afterwards, in 1892, he gave up law to accept the presidency of the Merchants Insurance Company. He was the president for 13 years, and it boosted his political career.
His political history began in 1877 when he was appointed to the state school board by Governor Nichols. Subsequently, he was also appointed a member of the New Orleans Levee Board. In the election of 1900, he was the nominee of the regular Democratic organization. He won with 19,000 votes versus the 13,000 his predecessor, Walter C. Flower, had. His greatest achievement was the modern-day sewage and drainage system.
Nicholas Girard was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the Orleans Parish in 1747. He was a member of a Protestant and French family that moved to New Orleans during the Spanish regime. During his lifetime, he and his brothers co-founded a wholesale and retail store that was later moved to the corner of St. Louis and Chartres Street, which still remains today.
Nicholas Girard was elected mayor of New Orleans on September 21st, 1812. He was a devoted politician to the state of Louisiana and also to the French Empire, who was the owner of Louisiana at the time. Nicholas Girard's administration oversaw the Battle of New Orleans.
Nicholas Girard died in his home on the corner of St. Louis and Chartres Street on September 1st, 1840. Nicholas Girard was 90 years old. His gravesite is located at the corner of Robinson and Bienville at St. Louis Cemetery No. 2.
The fascinating stories of these individuals and their tombs keep tourists coming to visit. St. Louis Cemetery No. 2 stands as a strong purpose. Even through Hurricane Katrina, St. Louis Cemetery No. 2 has withstood powerful winds and dangerous floods. Although the cemetery has made it through these decades, it's also developed wear and tear over the years. An organization fully devoted to conserving the essence of St. Louis No. 2 has been created to aid in the process of fixing its damages. We are here to help spread the word about this organization and help preserve the New Orleans heritage.
Save Our Cemeteries is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the protection, preservation, and promotion of New Orleans historic cemeteries. We have been around since 1974, and we implement our mission through education programs, hands-on restoration programs, and advocacy. St. Louis Cemetery No. 2 is one of the biggest and most beautiful cemeteries, historic cemeteries in New Orleans, and it's in need of a lot of love and attention. And I'd like to thank the Xavier University freshman students for coming out here and for researching the important people buried here and doing their project. If you'd like more information about our organization, our website is www.saveourcemeteries.org. You can go there and get information and see what programs we're putting on, and of course you can donate or become a member.
Xavier University and